Ladies and gentlemen, this is your favorite gun channel on YouTube in beautiful, bright Hunglish language. Ladies and gentlemen, what I have in my hands are a reproduction of wheel-lock pistols. These were made in Poland by a very good friend of mine, an excellent craftsman. This brace is the reproduction of a military wheel-lock pistol pair from the first half of the 17th century, so technically the 30 Years' War. And this brace will take a very important part in an experimental archaeology project that we are conducting at the university where I teach, so they will be scientific pistols soon. By the beginning of the 17th century, you could hardly imagine a horse soldier without at least a pistol, or a pair, or a trio of pistols, or more. We can talk about the bandoliers, the cuirassiers, the lanciers, or the hussars. Everybody had to have at least one firearm. These elegant military wheel-lock pistols had a weight of, let's say, 1 to 1.8 kilograms. The caliber was between 12 to 15 millimeter, and the barrel length was between 35 to 45 centimeters. They were quite large. They usually do not have rear sights, and I don't have the rear sights as well, just the front sights or beads, because these pistols were used from point-blank ranges, in most cases from point-blank ranges. But before we go on, let me thank you for your support. Your donations through Patreon or buying our authentic American Civil War revolver cartridge boxes or cartridge formers, or US Arsenal Stadias, or rubber stamps for Arsenal bundle cartridge labels, they all help to keep the quality of this channel high. So thank you very much, guys, again. Let me talk a bit about the technical specifications of these two beautiful pistols. The caliber of the pistols is 13.7 millimeters or 0.54 inches. The weight is 1.5 kilograms. The barrel length is 38 centimeters. The pistols were made by Rafał Ziółko in Poland. If you follow the Capandball YouTube channel, you know that I already covered the history of the wheel-lock pistols in a previous video. It was quite a long video, and if you wish to watch it, then you can find the link under this video in the description area. So I'm not going to repeat it, but what I'm going to repeat are the tests that I did with the previous wheel-lock repro, and as these are more accurate repros than the one I had before, this will be probably more interesting. So what we are going to test now is, of course, the accuracy with different kind of projectiles. I'm going to load it with patched round ball. This was also used by the 17th century. I'm going to load it with paper cartridges, with round balls, with the sprue left on the bullet to be able to tie the envelope of the cartridge to the projectile. And I'm going to try it also with hammered lead slug. These lead slugs are very interesting projectiles. We found many on battlefield sites from wars between the Turks and the Imperial and Hungarian forces. And the ones that I'm copying now are from the site of the 1664 siege of Zrínyi. This is on the southern border of Hungary, and this was a very unique siege because the area was never disturbed by any kind of other wars. So what we find here are precisely and exclusively from the war of 1664. There were two ways to create the lead slugs, and I'm going to copy both. The first one was the hammer slug, when they are making the smaller diameter bullet from a musket ball. This was a very interesting and very easy common way to convert musket balls into smaller caliber carbine or pistol bullets. And the other one was to cast a lead bar, longer lead bar, and cut it to pieces. This was also mentioned by Luigi Fernando Marsigli in his manuscript from the 18th century, first half of the 18th century, and he describes that it was still in the 18th century used by the Turks. Let's start with the accuracy of the patch round ball. We know that it was not really common to use a patch round ball in the military arms in the 17th century, but we do know that that this loading method existed. We have a proof that actually military arms were also loaded with patch and round ball. Of course, cartridges were more often, that's out of question. The weight of the charge will be 1/3 of the bullet weight. This was a common practice, so which means that we are going to add 60 grains of Swiss 1F powder as a black powder charge. The 1F Swiss powder is a large grain Swiss powder, but probably this can be closest to from all the commercially available powders. Probably this can be closest to the original 17th century granulated powders. The 1F charge is the main charge, but the priming will be done with fine priming powder, as it was mostly done in the 17th century as well. The ball is a 0.530 inch diameter pure lead ball with 0.15 mm thick patching. Forog a kamera.
pedig oda megy.
Oda. And ladies and gentlemen, there's 5 shots at 25 meters from a rest, of course, but this is a smoothbore pistol without a rear sight. The load is hefty. It's 60 grains of 1F Swiss powder. That's number 5 Swiss powder, and this is pretty much tells me that you actually don't need the rifling. So the smoothbore will do. Now let's check the accuracy of the paper cartridge, but before we do so, let me show you how I make the paper cartridges for this beautiful pistol. Paper cartridges first appeared in the second half of the 16th century. Both foot and horse soldiers carried a few to speed up the loading process. They were held in a holder attached to the holster or to the sword sheath or to the powder flask, or were placed in the Patronenköcher or cartridge box attached to the waist belt. We found many bullets with the casting sprue left on, so the cartridge paper could be tied to the projectile. This was probably the earliest paper cartridge design. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the paper cartridge with round balls with a screw left on the bullet to be able to attach the paper case to the cartridge. It is also 60 grains of 1F Swiss powder, and although it opened up, of course it did, but still is good. It's well within the area of the black on the target. At 25 meter, many service self-loading pistols cannot do this, so I'm still happy with that. And now it's time for the lead slug. But before we do fire these monsters, let me show you the two ways of making the lead bars for the carbines and pistols. There were two reasons for using lead slugs. First was substituting round balls when the army was short on logistics support. Second was to increase the close range stopping power of the arm. But my opinion is that the first one is the main reason. Let's make the hammered slug first. It is quite easy to identify these bullets, as the sides are usually concave, while the two ends are rounded. Let's make the cut lead slug now. The mold itself was easy to make by carving a cut into a piece of wood, and it was partly reusable as well. These bullets have sharp edges with no sign of hammering. And if you compare the two, it is easy to see the differences. This will be hefty. Annyira nincsen nagy visszarugása. Recoil is not that hard. And this is the lead slug at 25 meters, and the hits 0, which means that the lead slug was absolutely not designed for 25 meter shooting. That was a close range weapon for sure. I'm a lucky guy because I have a ballistics radar, which means I can check the difference between the outer ballistics of the patch round ball, the paper cartridge bullet, and also the lead slug. Now this is interesting. The ballistic radar is a good implement if you want to create a proper simulation of the ballistic curve of the projectile with unknown BC. The radar measures the muzzle velocity and another 5 points, so you'll be able to calculate BC while get a picture about the way your projectile loses energy and velocity. The fastest projectile was the patch round ball with 319 meters per second at the muzzle and 303 at 25 meters, retaining 96% from its original velocity. The muzzle energy was 738 joule at the muzzle and 666 joule at 25 meters, retaining 90% of the initial energy. The bullet of the paper cartridge started with 271 meters per second and slowed to 242 meters per sec at 25 meters, retaining 89% of the velocity. The muzzle energy was 536 joule and 427 joules at 25 meters, only 80% compared to the muzzle energy. The lead slug started with 128 meters per second and a velocity of 116 meters per second at 25 meters, retaining 93% of the original velocity. The muzzle energy was only 246 joules at the muzzle and only 202 at 25 meters, 82% compared to the muzzle energy. But one thing for sure, even if there are differences, we can state that all are lethal within these distances. I have two Clearview ballistic gelatin blocks on hand, so we are going to check now the ballistic, terminal ballistic effect first, the paper cartridge with the round ball with the sprue left on, and also the terminal ballistics of the lead slug. Let's see what we can record.
Az igen.
The bullet easily penetrated the synthetic gelatin block and created a moderate temporary cavity. The muzzle flash burned the entrance wound, and the bullet carried a lot of contamination in the wound channel. Although the round ball exited the gelatin, the sprue detached and remained in the block. Besides the sprue, I also found some paper particles. And now comes the fun part. Let's fire this school bus into the gelatin. The penetration of the lead slug was much less, and the temporary cavity trapped a good amount of air in the wound. The edges of the slug were grinded by the bore, so the bullet itself lost some weight. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. You've been watching the Capandball YouTube channel, your favorite gun channel on YouTube in beautiful, bright English language. If you like what I do, then please subscribe, share this video, comment and like this video. This will all help to grow our channel. If you wish to support us, you can do it through Patreon. You can find the link to the Patreon site under this video, or you can also buy your products from our eBay store or from our webshop as well. Both links are available at the description area. So, ladies and gentlemen, what more can I say? Until next time, stay cool and keep that powder dry.